There is a 6-year-old Rhodesian Ridgeback named Marlowe who has been carrying something invisible all day. His owner, a high school teacher named Judith who grades papers at the kitchen table every night and hasn't cried since her mother's funeral 3 years ago, wouldn't know it by looking at him. He's lying on the couch. His breathing is slow. His eyes are almost closed. He looks, by every measure of the human eye, completely fine. He is not fine. What you are about to learn will change the way you see your dog forever. Not a little, completely. And if you've ever watched your dog snap at someone and thought the words, "I have no idea why they did that," then this video was made specifically for you. It always begins the same way. A quiet evening, a loving home, a dog resting on the couch, chest rising and falling like everything in the world is okay. And then, a human hand reaches out, gently, the way it has reached out hundreds of times before. And instead of the soft lean into the touch, instead of the contented sigh, the dog whips around, the teeth come together in the air, the hand recoils, and the heartbreak that follows is immediate and total. The thought that surfaces in that moment is almost universal. My dog just bit me for no reason, out of nowhere. What is happening to them? And that question, that single, devastating question, is the most important one you will ever ask about your dog. Because the answer is not what you think. Within the rigid laws of biology, there is no such thing as an unprovoked bite. There has never been one. Not once in the entire history of the human-canine relationship. What looks like nowhere is, in reality, everywhere. It is the end of a story that started hours earlier, in the invisible language of a nervous system that had simply run completely out of room. Marlowe, our Ridgeback, started his morning the same way most dogs do. Calm, hopeful, ready. But somewhere between sunrise and that couch, something happened. Several somethings, actually. Small things. Things that Judith never saw. A delivery truck rumbling past the window at 9 in the morning. The neighbor's kid running across the front yard at noon. The vacuum cleaner at 5. Each one, individually, barely worth a blink. Together, stacked one on top of the other without enough time to breathe in between, they built a biological pressure inside Marlowe's body that he had absolutely no way to release. This is not a story about a bad dog. It is a story about a system, an ancient, extraordinary, and quietly tragic system built inside every dog who has ever shared a life with a human being. To understand it, we have to go back, much further back than you might expect. Millions of years before Marlowe ever set foot on Judith's couch, the ancestors of domestic dogs lived in a world where the threats were real and immediate and lethal. A shadow moving too fast across the grass, the wrong scent on the wind. Every survival depended on the body's ability to respond in an instant before the conscious mind had time to catch up. Deep inside the brain, in a structure smaller than a walnut, sits what researchers call the internal Watchtower. When it perceives danger, it doesn't ask questions. It fires a chain of chemical signals so fast that the body is already bracing, already flooding with stress hormones, before the danger is even fully identified. The heart rate accelerates, the pupils widen, the muscles lock into position, primed to fight or flee with everything the body has. In the wild, this was everything. It was survival itself. But here is what that ancient system was never designed to handle. A ringing doorbell, a delivery drone, a smoke detector with a dying battery, a child on a skateboard. The modern human world is full of stimuli that the dog's biology cannot distinguish from a charging predator, and it treats all of them the same way, every time, with the exact same flood of stress hormones, the exact same alarm bells ringing through the bloodstream. Imagine spending your entire day being startled by things that have no name, no logic, and no end. And then someone you love reaches for you in the dark. That is where Marlowe has been living, quietly, without complaint, for 6 years. But what happens inside his body when those alarms keep firing without enough time to reset? That is where the story becomes something you need to sit down to hear. Your dog woke up this morning with a completely empty cup. By the time you came home tonight, it might already have been close to overflowing, and you would never have known. The term scientists use for what happens next is trigger stacking, but the clinical language doesn't do it justice. What trigger stacking actually looks like is this. Think about Marlowe's Tuesday. At 9 in the morning, a cardboard box hits the front porch. The sound is sudden and loud. To Judith, sitting at the table with her coffee, it is nothing. To Marlowe, whose ancient biology cannot distinguish between a cardboard box and a rival animal crashing through a fence, the Watchtower in his brain fires immediately. Stress hormones pour into his blood. His cup fills to 20%. He barks twice, the mailman walks away, and he appears to settle. But the hormones don't leave. They stay. They circulate, slowly, invisibly, like a tide that came in and forgot to go out. At 2 in the afternoon, during his walk, a dog across the street stares. Not barks, not lunges, just stares, hard and sustained. In human culture, a stare means almost nothing. In the language that dogs have spoken for 10,000 years, a long, hard, direct stare is not neutral. It is a warning. It is a threat. Marlowe's body recognizes it before his brain has time to form a thought, and another wave of hormones crashes through his system. The cup fills to 50%. At 5 o'clock, Judith gets out the vacuum cleaner. It is loud in ways that hurt. It smells of burning dust and hot electric machinery. It moves erratically, unpredictably from room to room. Marlowe retreats to the corner. He stays very still and very quiet, because he is trying, the way dogs always try, to hold himself together. The cup fills to 99%. And then the evening comes. The house goes quiet. Marlowe lies down on the couch. From the outside, he looks calm. From the inside, he is one molecule away from a complete neurological override. His bloodstream is a chemical storm dressed up in still fur and heavy eyes. At 8 o'clock, Judith's hand reaches out. She is not doing anything wrong. She is doing what she has done 1,000 times before. But her hand is the last drop of water in an already brimming cup. And the cup overflows. The snap is not about the hand. It was never about the hand. It was about a cardboard box at 9 in the morning, and a staring dog at 2 in the afternoon, and a vacuum cleaner at 5. It was about a body that had been quietly screaming all day in a language no one around it knew how to read. Think about a dog you've seen sleeping in a sunny patch of floor, completely still, chest moving, ears loose, peaceful in every visible way. And now think about the possibility that beneath that stillness, the chemistry is all wrong. That the calm you are seeing is not rest, it is exhaustion. It is a nervous system that has finally run out of gas. Here is what makes this harder to hear. The stress hormones that fill a dog's cup don't clear in an hour. They don't clear overnight. Research tells us it can take up to 72 hours, 3 full days, for a dog's body to metabolically process and fully clear a significant stress hormone surge. 72 hours. That means a dog who had a terrifying Tuesday is still biologically fighting that same Tuesday on Friday morning. They are still carrying it, still reacting from it, and every new stressor that lands on top of the old one finds a cup that was never truly emptied. This is why the dog who was perfectly fine last Thursday suddenly seems grumpy this Monday for no apparent reason. There is always a reason. The timeline is just longer than we were taught to look. The next time your dog is having one of those days, try this. Find a quiet room. Close the door. Sit on the floor. Don't talk. Don't reach out. Just be there, in the same air, with no demands at all. Let the silence do the work that your presence cannot. Watch what happens to their breathing. Watch it slow. You are not doing nothing. You are doing exactly enough. But the stress your dog carries from the world around them is only part of what fills that cup. Because some of what they are carrying, they picked up from you. And that part of the story is almost too tender to put into words. Your dog knows when you had a bad day before you've said a single word, before you've sat down, before you've even closed the door behind you. They are not reading your face exactly, though they do that too. They are reading your chemistry. And the information they are getting is more precise, more complete, and more intimate than anything you've ever consciously shared with them. A dog's nose contains roughly 300 million scent receptors. A human nose contains about 6 million. But it isn't just the quantity that matters. It's what the nose is built to detect. Dogs possess a second scenting organ, buried deep inside their nasal cavity, a structure built for one specific and extraordinary purpose: to chemically decode the emotional states of the beings they love. When a human being has a hard day, their own stress response activates. Cortisol seeps from their pores. Adrenaline changes the chemical signature of their breath. The enzyme alpha amylase, a marker of psychological pressure, emerges in their sweat. To the human nose, none of this is detectable. To Marlowe, lying in the hallway the moment Judith comes through the door, it is information as clear and readable as a neon sign. Research has now confirmed what dog owners have felt in their bones for generations. Dogs accurately detect the biological markers of human stress. They don't need you to be visibly upset. They don't need raised voices or tense body language. They inhale the ordinary air of the room, and they know. And here is the part that should stop you in your tracks. Because dogs are wired so deeply for connection with humans, wired in ways that scientists believe trace back to a genetic adaptation tens of thousands of years old, something in their biology responds to what they smell. When they detect the markers of human distress, their own stress response often mirrors it. They don't just observe your anxiety, they absorb it. Their body begins to produce its own stress hormones in direct response to yours. So on the evenings when Judith comes home from a hard day at school, carrying the invisible weight of difficult students and unread papers, and the particular grief of a person who cannot remember the last time she felt fully herself, she doesn't bring that weight through the door alone. Marlowe takes a portion of it. He adds it to what he is already carrying. And neither of them knows this is happening. Picture this: a woman sitting in her car in the driveway for a few minutes before she walks inside, not checking her phone, not listening to music, just sitting, breathing. Not because she knows about the science, simply because some part of her understands, without words, that she is about to walk into the presence of someone who will feel everything she brings. That small pause, that minute of deliberate transition, is one of the most loving things a person can do for their dog. Because they cannot turn off their nose. They cannot choose not to know what you're feeling. But you can choose what you carry through the door. Now, here is the harder truth underneath all of this. Your dog has been talking to you about their stress all day, not in a language you were taught to hear, in something quieter than that, something that looks to the untrained eye like nothing at all. But it has never been nothing, and the moment you learn to see it, you cannot unsee it. You will look at your dog differently for the rest of your life. Hours before Marlowe snapped on the couch, he had already said everything. She had been saying it all afternoon. He said it with a yawn at 5:15, slow and long, in a room that wasn't too warm, after a rest he hadn't actually taken yet. He said it with a flick of his tongue across his muzzle when there was nothing to lick and no food in sight. He said it with the particular stillness of a body that had stopped moving not because it was relaxed, but because movement would have cost too much. Judith didn't hear any of it. Not because she doesn't love him. She loves him completely. She simply didn't know the language. Dogs evolved alongside humans over thousands of years. In that time, they developed a remarkable genetic predisposition to avoid conflict with the people they depend on. They will endure significant discomfort in silence. They will tolerate what they find overwhelming rather than risk disrupting the bond. They do not shout their distress. They whisper it. And the whispers look like this. A dog who yawns repeatedly when they are not sleepy is not bored. That yawn is a displacement behavior. It is the body's attempt to breathe its way through a rising tide of stress hormones when there is no escape available. Watch for yawns that come when nothing prompted them. Watch for yawns that happen right after something startled them. They are not tired. They are managing. A dog who keeps licking their lips when there is nothing to taste is doing something similar. As the fight or flight chemistry floods the body, normal digestion slows or stops. The mouth changes. Something compels the tongue to move, to clear, to soothe, the way a person might tap their fingers or chew the inside of their cheek when something is wrong, and they don't want to say so. Now watch the face. A dog in rising distress will show it in the muscles around the eyes and mouth before they show it anywhere else. The corners of the lips will tighten and push slightly forward. The skin around the eyes will pull. And sometimes, when the internal pressure reaches a certain point, you will see a crescent of white around the iris. Not the whole white of the eye, just a sliver, like a moon disappearing behind something. That sliver of white means, I am not okay, and I have been trying to tell you. As the stress climbs higher, it moves into the body. The tail that rises into a stiff, rigid flag and vibrates with short, rapid wags looks, from a human perspective, like excitement or happiness. It is not. It is the signature wag of an animal that is highly aroused and deeply conflicted. A flag waving not in greeting, but in warning. And then the breathing changes. When the stress hormones have been circulating long enough, the muscles between the ribs begin to lock. Not because the dog is in pain, but because the body is preparing itself. And when those muscles are locked, the dog cannot take a full, deep breath. So they pant. Shallow, rapid breaths, even when the room is cool, even when they haven't moved in an hour. They are not hot. They are holding on. All of this is happening. All of it is visible once you know what to look for. And all of it means the same thing. I have been trying to reach you. Please. The next time your dog yawns in a strange moment, get low. Sit down beside them. Don't ask anything. Don't touch them yet. Just lower yourself to their level and wait. Let them come to you. Or not. That choice, the simplicity of letting them choose, is the beginning of understanding. It is the first word of a language you can spend a whole lifetime learning. And there is something you can do when the cup is close to full. Something immediate. Something that research suggests can work within minutes. Place one hand, flat and still, on the side of their rib cage. Not stroking, not pressing, just present. And breathe slowly. In for 4 counts, out for 6. Studies suggest that dogs will begin to match the breathing of a calm human within a few minutes of sustained, quiet contact. You are not just comforting them. You are lending them your nervous system. That is not a metaphor. That is biology. Because here is the thing about Marlowe and Judith that matters most. He is not her pet. She is not his owner, not in any way that actually captures what is true. He is the creature for whom she is the entire world. Every stressor he endures, He endures in the context of trying to stay close to her. Every cup that fills in a life built entirely around her presence. And that, quietly, is what makes the next part of this story the most important thing you will hear today. There is a moment, late on a Tuesday evening, in a house that has finally gone quiet, where Marlowe is lying on the floor near the couch instead of on it. Judith is sitting on the rug beside him. She is not grading papers. She turned off the television 20 minutes ago. She has her hand resting gently against his side, not moving, just there. And she is breathing slowly because someone once told her that breathing slowly when you are next to a dog is one of the kindest things you can do. She didn't know, before tonight, any of the things you now know. She didn't know about the cup. She didn't know about the 72 hours. She didn't know that when she comes home, carrying the invisible scent of a hard day, Marlowe takes a portion of that weight and adds it to his own, without ever being asked. She knows now. And the knowing has changed something in her. Not in a dramatic way, in the quiet way that real things change you. She looks at him differently. She sees the yawn for what it is. She notices the flick of the tongue. She understands now what it means when he goes very still in a noisy room. And she does not walk past him when she sees those things anymore. She stops. She gets low. She breathes. The antidote to trigger stacking is not a training protocol. It is not a supplement or a product. It is the willingness to see. To truly, fully see what your dog has been trying to show you, sometimes for years, in a language made of muscle and breath and the sliver of white at the edge of an eye. When the cup is close to full, what your dog needs is not correction. What they need is an architect. Someone who will dim the lights and quiet the room and close the door on the noise of the world and say, without words, "I see that you are overwhelmed. I am going to make this smaller for you." They need 3 days of calm to fully clear the chemistry of a bad afternoon. 3 days. Not a lecture, not a consequence. 3 days of soft voices and slower mornings, and the television turned a little lower, and you sitting close, not asking anything, just being the safe and constant thing in their world that you have always been. Because here is what I want you to hold today. Really hold it, about the animal sleeping near you right now. Your life is long. It is full of chapters and transitions, and the kind of time that stretches across decades. You have had multiple versions of yourself already, and you will have more. Your dog has one chapter, one, and you are the entire story in it. Every morning they have ever woken up hopeful, they woke up hopeful because you were there. Every time they pressed their face against a window watching for your car, every time their tail began to move before they could even see you yet, it was because their whole interior world has your name on it. They are not living alongside your life. They are living inside it, completely and without reservation. And their time is shorter than we ever want to admit. That fact is not meant to hurt you right now. It is meant to make this moment, this specific one, feel as real and as necessary as it is. Because right now, they are still here. Their chest is still rising. Their ear still flicks toward your voice. There is still time to learn the language of the yawn and the tongue and the held breath. There is still time to be the kind of person whose arrival makes a dog's entire nervous system exhale. So here is what I want you to do in the next 60 seconds. Not after this video, not in a little while. Now. Go to where your dog is. Get on the floor. Place your hand against their side, flat and still, and breathe slowly. 4 counts in, 6 counts out. Don't talk. Don't ask anything of them. Just be the warm, calm, safe thing that you already are, but let them feel it in the one language their body understands without translation. That moment you're about to have, that small and ordinary and irreplaceable moment, is exactly what they have been waiting for today. Tell me in the comments, have you ever noticed your dog getting quieter or more on edge after a busy, loud, or stressful day? What do you do to help them come back down? I'd love to hear what you've figured out, because this community is built from exactly that kind of quiet, attentive love. If something in this video shifted something in you, share it with one person who has a dog. Just one. Because somewhere tonight, there is a Marlowe lying on a couch who needs the person beside them to understand what they are carrying. Subscribe to the Soulful Dog and join the people who see their dogs the way dogs deserve to be seen. Completely, honestly, in the language of what's invisible. And in our next video, we're going to talk about something that happens every single night in millions of homes. Something your dog does while you are asleep that science only recently discovered, and what it tells us about how deeply they are bound to your emotional life, even in dreams. You don't want to miss it.